Hello friends, welcome to FDR India. One nation, one tax, one nation, one ration card, and now one nation, one election. Prime Minister and the Union government had set up a panel, former President of India, Mr. Ramnath Kovind, to study the feasibility of holding simultaneous elections to the Parliament and state assemblies. In this context, let us try to understand the issue at hand and whether it will be a solution for India's issue problems with Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan. Hello, sir.
Hello,
In
Ankit.
2023, 9 state assembly elections are scheduled, 5 of which are going to happen in November and December. In 2024, that is next year, 7 state assembly elections along with the one general election. Do you think the idea of simultaneous elections takes precedence now, that we should discuss this and we should make it happen?
No, there's nothing wrong in discussing and debating any issue in a democracy, Ankit. But it must be with a deep understanding of the issues involved. And the effort you make and the result you get, there must be a relationship. If you make a massive effort, there is no use at all, then there's a waste of political capital and public attention. Now, take for instance this simultaneous election. Our middle classes are vexed with elections. I sometimes think that if there's no election, they'll be quite happy. And our bureaucracy, because it's overstretched, because election now, election another election later, local election, state election, national election, code of conduct, administrative machinery completely involved in that. Therefore, development is suffering. Administration is losing focus. And code of conduct is preventing many normal developmental activities. And enormous expenditure is incurred by the government because each election costs, even in a state, a big state, it costs hundreds of crores. A national election costs thousands of crores. So if you combine elections, cost will be less. So I can understand why the middle classes, the bureaucracy, and some political parties, now increasingly you have to pay money for vote. In any case, you have to do massive campaigning. Political workers work very, very hard to reach the people, to persuade them, convince them. So double or triple effort is that much more difficult and costly. So for them also, this becomes easier. Therefore, there is a certain temptation to look at that. But we must look at two things carefully. One is the constitutional difficulties. Second is, does it really make a difference? Will it be sustainable even if you make a massive effort and somehow manage to have simultaneous elections? Will it actually be able to continue? And finally, you must look at the third thing. Does it really make a difference to a democracy? Will it make our democracy better? First question first. We adopted the Westminster model. It's popularly called Westminster model, the British model. What is the model? The MLAs. In Britain, only MPs. There are no state legislatures, except they now created some regional parliaments. There is no federal system right now. So the MPs are elected in Britain. Here in India, because of the federal system, MPs are elected by the people, MLAs are elected. MPs create the government. The parliament is the mother of the government. Who is the head of the government? The Prime Minister, whoever commands a majority support in parliament, Lok Sabha. Similarly, in the states, whoever commands majority support in the assembly is the chief minister. In such a system, a government losing support of MLAs or MPs is part of the system. Otherwise, the government being responsible to the legislature does not have any meaning. Two, people changing parties, switching loyalties is part of the system. Three, the government asking for dissolution of the legislature is part of the system. Umpteen number of times in Britain, the king or the queen dissolved the parliament at the request of the prime minister. In India, it happened so many times at the state level, national level. Remember, in the first two general elections, assembly and parliament all over the country was at the same time, 52-57. Slowly, state after state, the timing changed. 71, national election was advanced by Indira Gandhi, dissolving the Lok Sabha. 77 to 79, because of the instability of the government, again, elections were advanced. 1980, early 80, we had elections. They were due only in 1982. Emergency time, they prolonged the period of the parliament by amending the constitution, using the draconian powers during emergency. Post-emergency, 96 to 99, we had three elections, 96, 98, 99. Vajpayee government lost by one vote. They had to go to people. You cannot say government lost by one vote, but we'll continue the parliament when there is no majority government possible. So it's inevitable that in the states or the union, elections will be advanced, assembly or parliament will be dissolved, the government may lose confidence of the house. Therefore, Even if you make the massive effort, there will be again disruption. Now, to make the massive effort now, Karnataka held the elections recently. Now, can you persuade the Karnataka people or Karnataka state government that, look, your election, you are only there for 3 months. 3 din ka sultan hai. We'll have an election again. Next time, let us see if you get elected, otherwise you lose power. Will Congress party agree in Karnataka?
No.
It's natural, right? BJP, if they are elected one month ago, will they allow it? It will not happen. Even if you have a brutal majority in parliament, which you don't have, you're required to use that brute majority, and there'll be movements all over the country, political agitations, movements. Majority doesn't make laws happen. You have to also get the consensus, particularly something as important as this. The many parties will oppose. And even if you somehow manage to do that, you require majority of state governments to approve, state legislatures to approve. They may not agree. Even if that happens, there is no guarantee that it will be sustainable. Because any state or the national parliament may be dissolved at any time. There may be advanced elections. So, for all these reasons, A, it's very difficult to make it happen. B, even if you make it happen, you cannot continue it because the constitutional scheme does not allow it. And therefore, it doesn't make any sense. But there's another reason, the political reason. Our democracy is very robust in the sense people vote in large numbers with great celebration, gusto, noise. It's like a festival. But let's be truthful. How many people actually understand the difference between a panchayat and a municipality, and the assembly and the Lok Sabha?
Very less.
90% of the voters, let me say very honestly, they vote blindly. Only 10% probably discriminate. And typically in India, the way it developed is, they look at the chief minister of the state and the government in the state. If they feel they like it, they vote according to that at all levels. If they feel they don't like it, they vote against that government at all levels. That's the way it's happening in India. No, that's not a very good system. Because panchayat's role, municipality's role is different. It is to deliver the local services, no great policies, no great laws. State has control over many subjects directly affecting people's lives, including education, healthcare, rule of law, jails, courts, a whole lot of things. And therefore, states matter. That's why people actually understand only the state government in India. Union has a different role, doesn't touch the people's lives daily, but unions is a bigger role, national role. From defense to external affairs to creating a level playing field to creating conditions for economic management of the country, investment in the country, macroeconomic stability, proper regulation, economic growth management, all those things. They don't touch the people, they have a profound impact on people's lives eventually. So unless people understand who does what and why I am voting for X or Y or Z, it's a blind vote which is without any serious meaning. Democracy becomes a joke. See, there's a beautiful slogan here. The best school for democracy and the best guarantee for its success is the practice of local self-government. Do you have local self-government in India? Do people understand what local self-government is? So by having even if it's possible and if it's sustained, by having simultaneous election, you actually make democracy worse, not better. People are less mature, not more mature. It's better that wherever possible they are separate, at least slowly people realize this is different, this level is different, this level is different, and make a judgment as to what they have done, what they have not done, and then vote accordingly. And then about Mr. Ramnath Kovind's former president, highly respected man, headed by him a committee. To my recollection, I may be wrong, but let's verify. This is the first time a former president headed a committee appointed by the government to look into a weighty matter. We must not waste this opportunity. Do a more serious exercise, not merely simultaneous elections. As I explained to you, it makes no sense and it makes no difference. When it makes no sense, when it makes no difference, when it's so hard to accomplish, what's the point of doing it? Because simultaneous elections, even if all these things work, they will not. Even if everybody agrees and you can get the constitutional change. Even if that becomes sustainable because no parliament is dissolved, no assembly is dissolved, who can guarantee that? And anyway, it will not be sustained. Even if all these things work, it will not change the nature of politics. Vote buying will continue. Short-term freebies at the cost of long-term good will continue. Dividing society on caste, region, religion will continue because there is no answer to that in this formula. So let us look at the bigger picture. Can we, to the extent possible, have simultaneous election? But more important, can we improve our democracy? Can we improve our governance? For instance, people are voting in the states or even at the union level increasingly, but particularly in states, looking at the leader. In Telangana, when they voted for TRS or BRS, TRS so far, they did not vote for TRS MLAs. They voted for KCR. KCR knows that. MLAs know that. Opposition knows that. Let anybody tell me it's not true. In 95% cases, maybe occasionally local MLA matters. But in general, the substantial part of the vote is I am for the government or against the government. Andhra Pradesh, when they voted for Jagan. Earlier, when they voted for Chandrababu Naidu. Tomorrow, let's see who will they vote for. So that's the way people vote. In fact, most often they don't even see the name of the candidate. They just see the symbol because they already made up their mind. But the government actually is formed not because of the people's vote for KCR. Though I thought I voted for KCR, whether he has enough MLAs with him is what determines his power. So first you must get MLAs elected. Even if you are popular, MLA may not be popular or liked. So all the dirty things to get elected. Then you must retain the MLA support. The fellow may be elected. Next day he may join another party. We are seeing everywhere, right? Karnataka we have seen, Madhya Pradesh we have seen, Rajasthan we have seen, Maharashtra we have seen, Telangana we have seen earlier, Andhra Pradesh we have seen. They switch loyalty immediately. People's mandate is reckless. That's why we had to have anti-defection law, this law, that law, all kinds of things. And on top of all this, not only is stability of the government affected, not only is people's mandate reversed immediately by the elected MLA, but government become very bad. Even if the leader wants to serve the government well, serve the people well, without MLA support continuing, he cannot continue in power. So you have to please the MLA. The MLA is given no role in the assembly. Truthfully, MLA has no role in the assembly. He is there only physically. It's a blind thing. It's only the leaders or the parties who matter. So MLA has to be satisfied. How do you satisfy him? MLA is made the uncrowned king of the constituency. No constitution gave him that power. But transfers, postings, contracts, tenders, police cases, mining, sand lease, everything has to be as per MLA's dictation. Everybody knows that. It's MLA raj that's going on in the country. Therefore, even if the government wants to govern well, you have to satisfy the MLAs. Therefore, bad governance, partisan governance is now endemic. Supposing you elect KCR directly. If Narendra Modi were Chief Minister of Gujarat still, you elect Gujarat Chief Minister directly, whoever it is. Or Jagan Mohan Reddy or Chandrababu Naidu or Stalin or Siddaramaiah directly. You don't depend on MLA's support. Your term is for 5 years. MLAs will then be removed from the bondage of the party. They can speak as they believe. They can vote as their conscience tells them. No anti-defection law. Their role is about making laws, approving the budget. Then there is no reason to please them at the local level illegitimately. Then local governments become powerful. Now MLA is the biggest opponent of local governments because their competition to him where is MLA's power. So everything will improve. The system will improve. And good people who want executive power instead of trying for MLA-ship with 40-50 crores, they can become municipal chairman. They can become Jilla Parishad chairpersons. They can actually deliver, have the satisfaction of making a difference to their people. Legally, honestly, properly. Everywhere the system will improve. You can get competent people as ministers. Honest people who don't spend 50 crores to get elected. Therefore, their worry is how do I get another 100 crores to make now? They actually want to govern well. Everything will improve. And if they do that, because the term of the state government is for 5 years and there is no interruption, there is no dissolution, and there is no other election in between, then parliament you can combine with that, if you so wish. But that's a minor purpose. But a major purpose also is served. So you must think like that rather than achieving very little which cannot be sustained, which does not change anything in the country, but you have to make a massive effort. That's not a very wise thing. But political capital is like a bank balance. Supposing I have, let's say, some 5 lakh rupees in the bank. If I take away 4,50,000, I only have 50,000 left.
Right.
Even if I need it tomorrow, I cannot spend more than that money available. Political capital also is like that. Whether Narendra Modi or KCR or somebody, people give you this much of leeway. If you waste it on unproductive things, you lost it. It can't be regained. So the power must be used very wisely for the best possible outcome for the people, to improve the country, improve our democracy, not out of whims and fancies. You may be well-meaning, your thinking may be honest. That's necessary but not sufficient. You must also be wise. Look at demonetization. Nobody doubts the intention, right? But it is in a half-baked manner. What happened to the country? Look at farm laws. They were excellent laws. I supported then, I support now. They're excellent laws. People who say they're bad laws, they don't know honestly. They're either not speaking the truth, they're being political in a partisan sense, or they don't understand agriculture. I'm telling you openly and categorically. I understand agriculture. I worked for the farmers all my life. You ask the farmers of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, they'll tell you. I don't have to tell you. They're good laws. All over the world, they have such laws, including the countries which criticized India, Canada, other countries. They all have such laws. It's hypocritical. But despite that being good laws, what happened? When you did not carry the people with you. So doing things hastily, investing political capital, is not good for the country, not good for the government.
So, the proponents of simultaneous elections say that the state governments are not able to focus on development because they are in constant election mode. What do you have to say to that?
I'm not denying that there is a problem with elections. I'm also not denying that vote buying, apart from losing time, each time, look at Karnataka, all kinds of freebies they offer. They are saying some 60,000 crores. One program alone is costing 26,000 crores. And it's not going to enhance the quality of life in the long term. It's not going to remove poverty. It's only going to make people perpetually dependent on this kind of a handout. Economic growth has not taken place. People's incomes have not risen. And you're going to borrow more to spend today, not for tomorrow. The moment you start borrowing to spend today, you're in a debt trap. The future is mortgaged. So that became necessary because state somehow you have to win the election. Congress party was desperate. Same thing happened in Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, old pension scheme. Punjab and Himachal Pradesh both went for that. So there is a fact. But the answer does not lie in this kind of a knee-jerk response. Nobody is arguing that everything is beautiful today. But look at it deeply and find a meaningful answer to address the real problem. Because your freebies, it will not change just because you have simultaneous election. Because you have not changed the incentives. In a direct election, a leader can transcend all this and say, look, trust me. Dr. Rajasekhar Reddy, in 2009, he said, trust me. When the opposition offered at that time loan waiver, he said, look, I have given already enough. I gave free power. I gave 2 rupee free rice. I will add another 2 kgs rice. I will add another 2 hours of power for the farmers. But more is not possible. Trust me. People trusted him. See, then quality of leadership, the record, and the trust, that can work. It takes a risk, it takes courage, but it's possible. It's more possible, particularly when the election is only for that leader. The trust in the leader transcends everything else. It's even better possible in a proportionate representation, because the share of the vote of the party is not going anywhere. Even if you are not getting a majority, you still have a tremendous voice in the assembly. So there are systemic answers to a complex problem. Instead of looking for some knee-jerk responses, which actually will not deliver the outcomes you want, the remedy sometimes becomes worse than the disease. Just because I want to give some medicine, I know patient is sick, I am desperate. You can't give just any medicine. You must give the right medicine in the right dose. Otherwise, sometimes the patient will die. It will hurt the patient rather than help him.
So, in your opening remarks, you've made a couple of points, and I want to bring that one point that you mentioned. You've talked about it a lot. The cost of elections. It is an open secret that 50 to 100 crores are spent on any constituency.
By the candidates and parties.
Yes.
Government is spending a lot of money.
Yes.
An assembly constituency, government is typically spending 10-15 crores. Nowadays, I remember I spent 2 lakh rupees for the assembly constituency in 1983. Today, it's become 10-15 crores. No, in government, reckless expenditure everywhere. Sometimes necessary, sometimes, you inflate, you waste, etc. But the parties and candidates spend 10 times that money.
Right. So how do we control that cost of election?
In the current election system, you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm absolutely certain. First past the post British model is too far gone now. There is a competitive populism and competition to get the vote. Things have become so bad in large parts of the country, and it's getting worse in the rest of the country also, that if you don't now distribute large amounts of money, people are saying, I will not come to the polling booth. Let's be honest. So it's no longer moral lectures or political parties' honesty or a leader's courage. If you say, I won't distribute, that means you're saying, I don't want power. You're like Lok Satta, Lok Satta party. The stage has already come in large parts of, not everywhere probably, but in 80% of the country it's already reached. How much money depends on the state. Some states even 100 rupees is big money for the vote. Some states 1000 rupees also is not much. But everybody is going in the same trajectory. Spending more and more has become now the norm. So in the current electoral system, with your speeches and morality, you cannot change it. It's too late. I am absolutely certain. I am a great optimist. But I also see the reality and find a solution which is sensible. I am not a romantic. I don't blindly come up with a solution unrelated to the reality. So what is the answer? The best answer if money alone is the issue, vote buying, the best answer is proportional representation. It solves both the problems, vote buying and also distribution of freebies. Because some parties will go to the people and say, look, our tax money is wasted at the cost of your children's future. There will be 20-30% vote for that. I may not get a majority, but 30% vote gives me 30% voice. Then I can fight another day and I can even be part of the government. Today, it's all or none. There's no chance. That is the best way, simplest way. But if you also want to get other benefits, if MLAs not calling the shots and improved governance and better quality people coming into local governments, and local governments becoming strong, at least at the state level, combine that with a direct election. So systemic change will alter that, not within the electoral system. Your speeches, you're telling the election commission, abusing election commission, you're filing police cases. I am absolutely certain. I'm not a cynic, I'm a great optimist. But optimism must be based on real conditions. In a Lok Sabha constituency in many states, 5 to 10 lakh people are given money to vote. 5 to 10 lakh people in just one Lok Sabha constituency by both parties or 3 parties they are contesting. The total number of jail cells in India are 4 lakhs. Even if you assume that you will file cases against all of them, you will actually take them to courts. Courts will actually convict and put them in jail. What are we talking? What are we talking? In a country where a murder case takes 10-15 years, 70% of fellows in jail are not convicts, but they are under trial prisoners. If 5 lakh people or 10 lakh people are bribed in the Lok Sabha constituency, you think the law and the normal criminal law and the penalties will work? In a country where 4 crore cases are pending in courts, we are talking through our hats. What can election commission do? When this party is giving, that party is giving, all karyakartas are distributing, and voters are taking money, and voters are saying, I will not come to the polling without taking the money. You think the law will help? It is a systemic problem. No, sometimes in India we are very romantic. We don't really see the reality. We somehow pretend if election commission is strong, if session comes, session was there. You think money was not distributed during session's time? I'm session's friend and admirer. But if you think money did not change hands during session's time, if people did not buy votes during session's time, you don't know anything about what's happening at the grassroots in democracy in India. So it's not about an individual election commissioner. It's not about prosecution and courts. It's about electoral system in a poor democracy which is dysfunctional. We must get it into our heads.
Thank you, sir. Very hard-hitting facts you've told us. This is FDR India. Join us again next time.